natives are getting restless. Just how long does David Zdrillic have at the helm of Perth Glory? Bayswater City take another scalp in the Australian Championship, and the A-League Women's get set for blast-off. Welcome to the Far Post Perth podcast, powered by ID Athletic. Download the latest football catalogue, idathletic.com, and a big welcome back. Officially back on board for season 25-26 to Trio Holmes, Dino Djulbic and the team. Fantastic to have their support. I just need to get a few things formalised with Dino and back on board. So fantastic stuff. Great to have the support of those two companies there. Blayne Treadgold is my name, alongside me, Neil Sherwin. Welcome back, mate.
Hello, good to be back.
Jaxon Bassett.
Here for week 3, looking forward to it.
And a man who wears many different caps of all different colours and different scarves of different colours. Matt Olsen's with us, mate. What are we, front page football or round ball Australia or mattolsen.com? What's going on?
Yeah, look, I'm happy that I've obviously been able to, embrace, more of our sort of independent and online scene in Australian football and help people out all across the country. Made a lot of friends. You mentioned the championship at the weekend. I was fortunate enough to share a word with RPA Leichhardt's media manager, Jude Dolan, who's someone that's done a lot of work in Australian football.
Yep.
He was able to kind of spot me out, and we had a yarn and had a beer, and so just really nice that I've obviously been able to increase my kind of footprint on the game in this country, and obviously this is a program I've wanted to be a part of for a long time now, Blayne. So happy to be here.
We just had to let you do your apprenticeship first, mate. So we don't just let anyone on the far post, Mate, welcome, and looking forward to your contribution. Keep that powder dry about the championship, because we're sure to ask you that. But before we get through that, gentlemen, let's start the only way we know how, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the week. I imagine there's a fair bit of ugly in there. Neil Sherwin, kick us off.
Goods. Well, look, there's a few very, very bads from the weekend, but we'll try and veer away from that. We'll go very far away from that. We'll go all the way to Ireland. We had a little talk before we came on air. I know everybody's probably dying for a League of Ireland update. We're almost at the final round of games. Shamrock Rovers have huffed and puffed and they're about to win the league, but we don't talk about that because for the moment Shelbourne are still the champions of Ireland, and they had a great win at the weekend, guaranteeing themselves a place in Europe next year, and fucking Bows in the process. Bows were 2-0 up in Dalymount Park, and Shelbourne came back and won the game in the 97th minute. It was beautiful. There was bottles being thrown at players, there was fist pumps in front of benches, there were shirts off everywhere. It was beautiful, and I was lucky enough to beat Shells and Bows at Talca Park when I went back to Ireland in August, and it really just reignited my hatred for them tryhards. So it was great. They can spend the off season now, instead of planning trips around Europe, they can figure out what shirt they're going to release next. So the League of Ireland's almost at its conclusion. Shells are going to be in Europe next year. The gravy train rolls on. Bring in those Euros.
Well, there's a little bit of recent history, and we better let everyone know about that, because when Neil went back there, he was saying, these shirts from Bohemians are solid, and even as a Shells fan, he was saying that. I said, grab me one of these. So he got me one. It's absolutely top notch. O'Neill's brand, Guinness on the front, black with some
try hard.
Oh exactly. No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, Neil. Even you could admit that.
It's very leprechaun.
But I'm on board the Bows train now. So mostly just to piss you off.
Yeah.
But
not pissed off this week, because no Europe. So Shelbourne will be in Europe again, and Shells are currently in the Conference League. They got Crystal Palace coming up in a home game in the group stage. So it's a fun time.
Just a bit of a Perth connection. Is Joseph Ford still over there?
No, he was released by Waterford, and I believe he's in Victoria now.
Okay, and obviously Aaron McInnes is still there at
Rovers. Yeah, he's going to win the league at Rovers. Yeah, this year. And Daniel Steins had a very, very, very short few weeks at Galway United before he was let go there. So, not everybody can succeed, in the League of Ireland. Shelbourne having a good time, so that's my good. Because look, Perth Glory and Man City were both shit at the weekend, so Shells picked me up. Yeah, very good. Jaxon, what's been good, mate?
I'll bring it a bit closer to home and go with Alex Badalado and the Jets. How good were they on Friday night?
The box office Jets are back.
Absolutely. It didn't go well in round 1 for them against Central Coast, and despite that result, I didn't really have any worries for them. On another day, the penalty goes in and they're equal top of the table, but they were super impressive against Victory. It was a real back and forth game. They're brilliant to watch in full flight, and Badalado's 3 goals were all very spectacular.
Yeah.
And the fact, also, the other impressive thing is they played this game without Clayton Taylor or Eli Adams. So when you add them back into the mix, along with Badalado's form and Max Burgess as well, this is like you said, this is the box office Jets. They're going to be a team that is going to be really exciting to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they cope when they get to face some of the big boys in the coming weeks.
Yeah, but it's another you didn't want them, right? With Western Sydney not giving him any time. Victory had him on loan, probably didn't utilise him. People are afraid to play. These young, I mean, he's 21, so in A-League terms, he's a baby, but in world football, not really. But they're afraid to play these attacking young 10s or creative players in their preferred position. And this is what happens. He's had a great run with the underage teams, playing in his preferred position regularly, and he's carried that into the Jets. So taking players until they're 21 to do this, you kind of miss the boat a little bit when it comes to potential European moves and whatnot. And yeah, it's just another example of a club looking at a player and just missing something. And we're guilty of that across the board, not just Western Sydney. Other clubs have done it as well. I mean, Glory released Jalen Pearman. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah. It's amazing what a bit of confidence can do, though. You play yourself into a bit of form, and when you go out there and you feel like you can do anything, then it's special to watch. And he's only going to keep getting better. And if the season continues the way it's going, then he's going to be another one to probably make an overseas move and just further enhance his career.
It's an interesting one, though. You mentioned Eli Adams there. I thought he scored a goal against Perth a couple of years ago now when he was at Victory, and I thought, watch this kid. He looks all right. And just the rhetoric around Victory were just like, we're not too upset that he's going, but I thought he was a bit of a baller. I think he was another one that a club just let go far too easily. And he's gone up, and he did. I think he scored a similar goal the season after once he was at Newcastle, and he's just gone on with it.
Yeah, he's got a belter of a left foot, and he was one of the most impressive players for them last season. And I'm not sure why he missed this week, because he did come off the bench against the Mariners, but again, just another one of those youngsters that has found the right environment and has been thriving for them.
You're up with your good, bad and ugly debut, Matty. What have you got that's been good over the last week?
I think one thing that's really kind of reached out to me from an A-League perspective is I want to say 10,700 that rocked up to Leichhardt Oval for Sydney FC at the weekend. That is a stadium that I think from a rugby league perspective with West Tigers there, also from a football perspective with IPL Leichhardt obviously using it for the championship. We've got Basie's about to come there in the championship as well. But also just actually have a boutique stadium that Sydney FC can use. The inner west is a very kind of weird area of Sydney geographically where, it's a melting pot of different cultures, but it is, I think, prime real estate for football, obviously with the RPA's, presence in the region as well. But for Sydney FC, to have actually put a league game there again, not sure why Allianz Stadium is unavailable, but these are the kinds of things.
That was those flooding and turf issues from earlier on.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are the things that plague an A-League season. We're not exactly, unfamiliar with it. So to go to a boutique stadium like that, go to a region that is known for supporting football, and to bring out a crowd that good, I mean, it's something that's really hard to ignore and not be a little bit pleased by, just knowing that everything around the league and its governance at the moment is a bit rough. So happy to see that, and really happy that Sydney FC, even with results and things maybe not going their way, already some comments about Talley and whether he'll last as well. So really, really important that they've still got the support there for sure.
I've got a similar one, but I'm going to talk about that in a quick second. I similarly had Newcastle, but I want to I guess I'll go off on a bit of a different tangent, and that was the support that Newcastle got, particularly at the Central Coast Mariners. And then, of course, they had some, off the back of that, they had some decent home support against Victory as well. And it's these kind of clubs that really just need to, they're not too far away from some of these crowds. Yeah, they've had some really, really bad years, but if they can pump it up by 5,000, then consistently, they're really not in a bad spot. I mean, the people are there. Is it just down to the fans just being a bit fickle, or what it is? I don't know. Is it? I don't know what to put it down to, but it seems that, I mean, we all love a winner, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it seems to double or triple almost once your team's doing well. It's, I don't know. Are we all just that fickle, Sherwin?
Yes.
We are?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we spoke about it previously.
Yeah,
There's a hardcore element within the A-League, and then there's people that will drift in and out as success dictates. We see that as much as anybody, not just with Glory. We see it with the Wildcats, see it with Eagles, see it with Freo.
Yep.
It happens across all codes, Western Force. That people want winners. If it's not sexy and it's not really appealing, then they aren't going to put their money there. They're going to go do something else.
I guess just to go a bit deeper though, there's surely, when your team's not travelling well on the pitch, there's still certain things that the clubs can do, and to be able to get people through. And that's, I guess, going through a similar situation now that the Jets have been through at Perth. People are saying, oh, well, the football's not even the priority anymore. It's just going there and having a good time with my mates and seeing people that I don't catch up with very often, and so on and so forth. So there is that side of it as well. That is an attraction for people.
Yes, it is, but it's also loser talk. Because when your team is so shit that all you can look forward to is a beer with your mates, then it's and it's great that people do have that culture, and I'm all for it. And that'll come on to my bad in a second, but people resort to that because their team is shit, right? It's a case of, we don't win and we're crap, we haven't achieved anything for years, but I still like a sing song and go with have a beer with my mates. But how much better is that when we're winning? Right? And I know, but you get so many people just don't have that. They don't necessarily go. They go to watch a team win. They go to watch. There are people that go to watch teams win. They don't necessarily go for a beer. They turn up. They go to watch a good standard of football because that's what they enjoy. They're the ones that will just go, nah, screw this. These are terrible. And I think that's what we've got at the moment. And
I've got to give a shout out to Matt McIsaac for his meme in the week, the old SVU and the Shed End Victims Unit, because I was down with a few of the boys on the weekend, and despite being absolutely putrid on the park, there was still a fair good laugh and a good vibe down there. So the boys are still trying to make the best of a bad situation. Keep us going with your bad, mate.
My bad is it's not to shit on the parade around good crowds, but and it's not a MacArthur thing, because MacArthur, I don't want to get into their value or anything like that, but midweek football, weekday football just does not work here. It's not just last night's game where barely, I want to say, a man and his cow turned up at MacArthur. Turned up. It's Champions League games as well, right? You see Melbourne City had a pretty dreadful turnout, and last night's game, I saw some excuse online, it was cold in Sydney. Put on a jumper. You know what I mean? We're spoiled here because we live in a nice climate. Generally summer football, you can wear your shorts and a t-shirt going to the games, and as soon as it gets slightly adverse weather conditions or it goes in the too hard basket, and that's where I'm talking about fans being fickle. We are. It's not even a case of results. It's a case of, the temperature's too cold, so I'm not going to go. And you'll hear think about school night and everything else. Look, there's a big culture in the UK where there's 7:45 kickoffs on a Wednesday, and you will see kids there, you will see families there. They will be tired the next day going to work and going to school, but that doesn't matter because their football team is playing. We just don't have that culture, and I find it very hard to not be a football snob about it. I've come to accept that it's just not going to work here, midweek games. It's just not going to be a thing. And unfortunately, that's where the Asian Champions League will never grow, as far as I'm concerned, in Australia, because people just do not do midweeks.
It's really fascinating that you mentioned that, though, because even looking at some of the clubs that our clubs are playing against on the continental level, look at the turnout from JDT and everyone coming from Malaysia to go to Gosford for a game. Look at the turnout that Beijing Guoan had at MacArthur. Literally, the reason that game had to be moved to a Monday, they've brought a couple hundred people there. They've packed that away, and they've really brought that atmosphere. So if they can do it travelling from China, Malaysia, wherever else in the eastern side of the continent, I mean, it actually just speaks a lot to our sporting culture.
Correct,
as a whole.
absolutely. It's a cultural thing. It is absolutely a sporting culture thing, yes. Unless it's a major final where you can get on the gravy train and you can have your prawn sandwiches and whatever else, then we just don't want to know. And it's very hard because the Asian Champions League should be like the Champions League. It is the pinnacle,
best of the best.
But if a big Chinese team or Japanese team comes here, people just shrug their shoulders because it's a Tuesday and they got work the next day. So it's a cultural thing. But for me, it's just last night's MacArthur game was grim. But I don't necessarily blame MacArthur or anyone else for that, other than football culture.
It's just the way it is.
Yep, just the way it is.
For my bad this week, I'm going to move over to England, and just some of the commentary around Arsenal and their style of play, it rubbed me the wrong way. Jamie O'Hara was one early in the week who said it was killing the game. Jeff Stelling mentioned on TalkSport that it was so boring to watch, and other people have said it's, have criticised it for being boring, relying on a lot of set piece goals and not much from open play. Even Sky Sports earlier today tweeted about Arsenal's attacking statistics, and it's meant to be a dig. And I just think the big criticism for Arsenal the last couple of years has been their inability to get over the line in the league. And now that they're at the top, they're playing well, winning games. Now all of a sudden we criticize how they're going about their business. Like, who gives a shit? Like, when Tony Popovich was the manager for us and we were winning a lot of games 1-0, 2-0, the fans don't care. As long as you're getting results and winning, that's what matters. And it's even happening with the Socceroos at the moment. It hasn't been the prettiest football. And yes, in an ideal world, we'd be playing free-flowing, attacking, and it'd be awesome to watch. But it's a results business at the end of the day. Arsenal are getting the job done. Socceroos are getting the job done. I think it's just nitpicking, and it's a bit. I don't really understand it. I think it's just a way of attacking a team who's currently at the top. And if it was any other team, then I don't know if we'd be seeing this sort of criticism.
I think you would, because when City were winning everything, it was they've spent too much money on every play, but they spent 200 million on fullbacks. That's why they're winning the league. When Liverpool were up there, it was because Slot inherited Klopp's great squad. He didn't have to do anything to it. Now it's Arsenal. I think at the online side of things, there's a lot to do with it. Like Arsenal TV, fan TV would be insufferable if they won the league. So these Cowboys have a lot of reason why fans of other clubs turn into vitriolic towards them. When I was growing up, I liked Arsenal because they had Dennis Bergkamp. Cesc Fabregas is one of my favourite players ever. Vieira and Keane, all that stuff that went on. There was no social media stuff around that to drum it. It would just evolve naturally on the pitch and through the games. This radicalisation of, for want of a better term, because we see that in other facets of life, absolutely applies to football as well. And I just think, you see the memes of Arteta as Osama bin Laden and all this sort of stuff. It drums up the hatred towards him. And I think, if you're at the top, they're going to try to tear you down. It just happens a lot quicker now because you have it at the tip of your fingers, especially when the games are happening and the goals are going in. Like, look at Slot now. I'm absolutely loving that he's lost 4. And I'm guilty of sharing every meme under the sun to my Liverpool sporting friends. I am part of the problem. But I'm also really enjoying it. But I do think... your point about winning, it's absolutely Arsenal. If Arsenal win the league for the first time since the Invincibles, they don't give a shit if every goal came from a corner. Why should they? Why should they? So it's an other people's problem, not an Arsenal problem.
Yeah, it's true. I do agree with the online sentiment, but I know you mentioned about Klopp's Liverpool and for Guardiola as well, but there was never any. Not again, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember any criticism about their style of play because of the
Guardiola ruined football apparently for years. By removing, you can't cross the ball into the box and you can't shoot from outside the area. Everything has to be passed in, and you have a specific style of play that he's and everybody's trying to copy him, and it's just ruined what football was. He absolutely had it during that era, and then when City didn't win the league last year, he's a bald fraud. Get him out. And now Slot's the ball fraud. Get him out.
Yeah. It's like we're reverting back to old school.
Ten Hag, ball fraud.
True. I feel like we're going back to the old school ways of just, get it into the box and just get it to your big guy. Yeah, long ball, Route 1 football.
I'll give you one name, though, locally, that was accused of very, very similar, and that was Mitch Stavro when he was winning the leagues with Perth Glory. Exactly the same. They used to sing in the shed, "We play boring football," and that was,
well, when
they didn't give a shit.
To that point, growing up, for me, again, showing my age, the chant was 1-0 to the Arsenal under George Graham because they had a back 4, 5, including Seaman in goal. Adams was there, bold. Dixon, Winterburn. They just did not concede goals. It was 1-0 to the Arsenal was the chant, and they were proud of it. And we're basically seeing a different iteration of 1-0 to the Arsenal. They win the league, they won't care.
Yep. Matt, keep us going, mate. What's been bad?
So this one's a little bit sort of twofold, because I do kind of want to give the team I'm about to slander some slack, but only for
No,
a very
we don't do.
No.
You're all in.
No,
Two foot.
We don't do that here.
2 foot.
Well, look, I just when we look at the formation of this competition that we now have in the championship, the foundation clubs, they've had the better part of sort of 3 or 4 years to really start working on things. They came together as a working group and were announced as the initial foundation clubs in 2022, right? So that's 3 years now towards when the competition has kicked off in late 2025.
Yeah.
For a club as storied and as proud as Sydney United, to be dead last in Group D, to have a squad that's been put out with an average age of about 22, I believe the numbers were, that's just inexcusable. Like, it's pathetic. How is it that you finally got that national stage, games broadcast on SBS, the old soccer really coming together, and they've just not shown that side of themselves at all.
You've been reading the Sydney United fan pages again, mate, because they've been throwing some absolute daggers at their ball for the last 3 weeks.
As long as that's the only thing that they're throwing.
It's pathetic when you try to have this discourse with people in New South Wales. Why is it that Sydney United have come out so poorly, to the point where, aside from South Australia, aside from WA, has been able to run through them and look so strong, and that's where the argument comes out to, players have gone on holiday, we don't have this together, we don't have that together. It's like, you literally had 3 years to plan for this. How is it that you've come out and been just completely really played off the park? So they're coming to WA this week. That's a 5-hour flight. That, again, these are part-time footballers. They play on artificial turf, Bayswater to not at Frank Drago. There's a big challenge.
I reckon you'd be leaving an inch
Yeah.
On top of that pitch, I reckon.
Yeah, so I just don't know what to expect from a side that's already really done on their luck, that clearly doesn't have their best 11 available to make that trip. They might be in a bit of a state where they're really there for the taking, and where their aspirations as a second-tier club can be thrown away just like that. So it'd be something to kind of, I guess, look forward to from our perspective, but from their perspective, awful. Yep.
No, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting match, and we'll have a bit of a look at that towards the back end. I'm just going to carry on from your previous point about these stadiums, and obviously 10,000, 11,000 at Leichhardt for Sydney FC. Obviously, there's been heaps of concern about Suncorp Stadium. I think there's some real time that they've got to put a can to these bigger stadiums. I mean, this isn't anything new. Allianz has been a cavernous shithole for a long time for Sydney FC. I mean, what does it hold now? 43. I think it holds 43,000.
Yeah,
I can't remember what we last
45.
got. Yeah. I can't remember the last time we got anything close to 30 or 35, let alone 15 or 20 for Sydney FC there. I mean, you might get it at 20 for the odd derby, but I mean, if these aren't signals about getting the hell out of these stadiums, I don't know what is. The other side of that is, what's the feasible solution? Now, I think Brisbane have just got to do everything within their power to get Perry Park over the line. Yeah. They have to do everything within their power, throw the absolute kitchen sink at it. Football Australia on board, the APL on board, and really go to town on moving in. I think there's been a little bit of, we're not sure if it's the right time, we're not too sure about this. No, it's got to be, it is the only solution for Brisbane at this point in time. Sydney's a little bit more complex. Do they move out to the Oval at Leichhardt? It's fair to say that there's not much cover there if it does start sheeting it down, or it does get windy. It is a very, very open stadium. Do they move out to Belmore? Do they move in with the Tigers? What is going to happen as far as this Sydney FC side? Because I guarantee you, people had a hell of a lot more fun at that game with the buzz in the crowd than they probably have in Allianz in some time.
Look, this is tough. I feel like when we talk about the natural order of where a club like Sydney FC belongs, I think I kind of really disagree with you in that if you move them to the inner west, if you move them to an area like Belmore, this is not Sydney FC's heartland. And that's where, again, infrastructure problems in the eastern side are that bad.
I've done a little bit of digging in this, and it's for a city of 6.5 million. It is actually surprising how few there is legitimate football stadiums in
it says a lot
Sydney.
that
Central Sydney specifically.
Yeah, a sporting brand the size of the South Sydney Rabbitohs, the fact that they can't even find a permanent facility and somewhere for the club to actually play.
Is a renovated Redfern a little bit more?
Well, if they put money and whatever else together to maybe actually get the government talking about, if a facility that they could share with the Rabbitohs, that'd do a lot to have another professional team.
Well, the Roosters want the Rabbitohs out. Sorry to go into other codes, but I mean, it is interesting. I don't know what the solution. We know what needs to happen. I just don't know what the exact solution is.
I agree with the Suncorp scenario because Brisbane, it's way too big. It always has been. My devil's advocate is if you go into a stadium that's of a nice capacity, you stunt your potential growth as well. Like you can't really grow beyond.
Allianz isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, but
it's always going to be there. But you need a home.
Yeah, but you need a home. You need a home.
Yeah.
Like you can't. What shits me is playing in different grounds.
Yeah,
like you got to play your home games in your home stadium. That's where it should be. Wherever that is, that's your nominated stadium. That's where you play. Your fans build a culture there. Not playing in 2 or 3 different stadiums based on potential crowd size or Brisbane, different story, yes. But I know that they said in the last week or two that they're not stupid. They are exploring the options. They're just not available.
That's why they very amicably went to Redfern and gave that a try.
Yeah.
Only for people to realise by the 6th or 7th game, oh crap, we've got to take like an hour and a half, especially if we're on public transport, to actually get here to watch the football.
Yeah.
I mean, that stadium, let's not forget, that stadium hosted an elimination final during COVID. Like that was really a serious option for them. But the logistics of it were horrendous.
Lads, this could not be better timed. Perth Glory wishes to announce that club's Isuzu Ute A-League head coach David Zdrillic has been relieved of his duties with immediate effect.
Jesus, all right.
Oof.
Holy.
So I'll read the full statement. This is just dropped.
Hold on. We've got the important bits of our good, bad, and our ugly here, Neil.
We've got to talk about
what's this going into?
In New South Wales and Queensland.
Owner Zdrillic joined the club ahead of the 2024. All my stats about Zdrillic are just blown up now. Owner and chairman Ross Pelligra and the Perth Glory board would like to place on record their gratitude to David for his hard work and professionalism throughout his tenure at the club and wish him every success in his future endeavours. Members of the existing support staff will take temporary charge of the team for Friday's home game against Melbourne Victory, and an announcement regarding the appointment of a new permanent head coach will be made in due course.
Oof.
Well, that's a recording bombshell. What time?
There you go.
So, shout out to Gareth. He must have known we were recording tonight, because if this had to come out tomorrow morning, our content would have been fucked, for want of a better term. So, I mean, look, my ugly was simply going to be, we are now in the trenches with how long does this go on for?
Well, my burning question was, what time on Saturday morning does this roster get released?
So it's happened now. I'm glad they've pulled the trigger early. I did say on Sunday I wouldn't be adverse to doing it and getting it done now. They've had the balls to boo him. So we're 2 games into the season, looking for a new manager who'll come in and pick up the pieces of a squad that's not his, with a lot of injuries.
Well, there you go.
How exciting.
Yeah. So let's quickly get rid of our uglies. We're going to come straight back to that. We'll have a bit of a break. We'll just quickly get through our uglies, Jackson, very, very quickly.
Well, it was on David Zdrillic and just asking him on the weekend, what did you think was going to happen in that game? You picked the same lineup. You played against a team that are better than Wellington at keeping the ball and breaking through. I just don't get the thinking on it. And the other question I had is, how are you planning on winning the game as well? That was the other thing that I had just watching the game, I had no idea what the plan was and how they thought they were going to break down Melbourne City at all. And, it turned out to be the question that he couldn't answer, and now he's out.
I wasn't necessarily super prepared with an ugly from around the sphere.
That's okay.
But I do have some really important commentary on this that I feel just in generally across the scene. I think a lot of Glory fans and a lot of people within our sphere of influence here in Perth probably quite vehemently have disagreed with me on this. But I wanted to really just actually have that conversation around coaching and who that figure is that we want to have lead the club, because I feel that of the multiple figures that we've had come in the door, yes, Richard Garcia is probably not cut out to have been a senior coach, likewise Ruben Zagovic, but even with more astute management and more people who know the ins and outs of the A-League environment, for people like Alan Stajic to still come here and fail, someone like David Zdrillic, who boasts that resume of having worked with the Red Bull Group, having worked with, a really successful MLS club, his resume kind of spoke for itself. I feel, in my heart of hearts, I think David Zdrillic is a coach that can go to somewhere like Sydney FC and actually succeed with a lot of the backing that he has and a lot of success that he's had throughout his career. And it's for that reason that I feel a lot of the people that have really just called for his sacking, almost at a constant, I've never really fully agreed with them, because in my humble opinion, the coach has actually got absolutely nothing to do with what's fundamentally wrong with this club. Organisationally and in the way that it's run, I don't feel that the head coach has a lot to do with just the day-to-day running of the organisation and the way that things are done in seemingly a very half-assed attitude in a half-assed way.
You're actually quite right, because he is the fall guy, right? Yeah. He will be the fall guy, and the coach generally is. You can't boot 30. How many players they've signed? 750. You can't get rid of all of them. The owner's not going to go. The head of football isn't going to sack himself. So the coach is the fall guy, right? So I do agree with you to a point that David Zdrillic is the fall guy for this. But it's a results business, unfortunately. So I feel like it had to happen.
When immediately talking about, because we now know that he's been sacked, right? So when immediately talking about, who a replacement could be, I just come back to this same thought, this same constant thought of things are that poorly run at the club. What is replacing their head coach actually going to do to turn fortunes around for us? And I don't know that we have an answer, because again, we've had a lot of really experienced heads come here and nothing's changed.
Boys, keep that powder dry, because we will take a little bit of a break, and we will go through the breaking news of the removal of David Zdrillic. We'll do it after this. You are on the Far Post Perth podcast.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbic at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth podcast. Blayne Treadgold, Neil Sherwin, Jaxon Bassett, and special guest Matt Olsen is with us. And, boys, the news has just come through. I just put something out on the social media that this content writes itself, because it's going to give us plenty of ammo for the next little while, at least probably for the remainder of this particular episode. David Zdrillic relieved of duties, effective immediately.
Fans relieved.
The fans relieved. I've got to admit, I'm pretty relieved, because I just didn't know how far this could go down. Actually, one of my burning questions as well was, what's the threshold for removal of David Zdrillic? And it's clear that the threshold's been reached, according to the ownership.
I think it turned a bit ugly for me from the weekend, when, as soon as the talk comes out of flirting with other coaches or looking at other people on the East Coast and all this, he's a dead man walking. And that's why I'm glad the trigger was pulled early, rather than letting that simmer and go on for another few weeks, with the speculation, because he doesn't need that, right, as a coach, when people like us would be sitting in a press conference going, what do you make of the rumours about John Aloisi and who's coming for your job? And no one needs that, right? Now the cord has been cut, and to the point that Matt made earlier, it's absolutely not just a David Zdrillic issue. It's a football department and a club problem. I did half jokingly say sack them all at the weekend, but it's more than just David Zdrillic that's got the club into this mess, this latest mess. And what confidence do we have and maybe it's my burning question, but it's for a bit longer than just next week. What confidence do we as a fan group have in the powers that be to bring in the right person now? Because it's the same people that hired David Zdrillic. Yep. And also doing the recruiting. Yeah, look, we aren't getting Ange. No. Let's snip that shit in the bud now. We're not getting. We're probably going to get a jobber from around the recycling bin, but because that's the way these things go, rightly or wrongly. It's budget and everything else. But the people making those decisions are the same people that have us in the situation that we are in now. So my initial reaction was he gone, and then afterwards I'm going, he's gone, but what with the rest? What's the next decision look like, Jaxon?
That is the burning question. You can just leave it at that. I mean, should we run through some of the potential candidates? Because I know Aloisi has been a big talking point. I've seen Kisnorbo been mentioned, although that seems very unlikely. Mentioned by James Renton, who got absolute pelters from Nick Meredith of all people. That was a hilarious exchange on Twitter. Look it up if you haven't seen it. I was giggling to myself at that. Anyway, when I say he got mentioned, then that was the person who mentioned it. And then Anastasiadis from Heidelberg was one that we had a quick discussion about potentially. I think if you're going to go, if you were going to pick a local, a national, or an international coach, I think Anastasiadis is probably front of the queue as far as local goes. Yeah, on a national level, I'd probably say that Aloisi is front of the queue. International, I just don't know where you go in that regard. I feel it's got to be someone out of the bubble, though. So not Kenny again. Well, I'm not thinking an ex-Socceroo, for example. I'm not thinking an Aloisi. I'm thinking someone who can come in with ultra fresh eyes, nor fear, nor favour. Why would they want to? Well, what's the appeal of the job as 3 rounds into the season as well? What can the club do? Do you know what, though? There's no window. But it's a better case scenario than January. You're only 3 games in. You've got 24 to go. Yes, you could still turn it around. I feel like if you're talking about someone who actually wants to move and shake and actually tear the system up, that needs to be an off-season recruitment. It just does. So I do worry about if someone actually would want to have that. But I mean, we're not pushing areas with the squad that we were this time last year. This is a much more serviceable squad. The players are still not there. I maintain that dating back to about 2019, the Glory squad that's been signed going in has never really ended up being on the pitch. Like, when are we going to see Tom Lawrence? When are we going to see Luke Amos? And these guys are going to be injured. Yeah, and that is the point, that you can sign all these wow signings and everything else, but if they're not on the pitch, they might as well not be here. Yeah. And that's a big problem. I've said it numerous times. Glory's best 11 on paper is great, but that's all they are at the moment. We have not seen that best 11 play since Popovic was here. That's just a fact. That's true. No, and there's question marks around the recruitment based on the weekend as well, in terms of playing a high line with 3 well into their 30s defenders as your back 3. Bizarre. I mean, the first goal came from a long pass over the top. The 3 older back 3 defenders were all at sea, turning in quicksand, and you're hanging them out to dry by doing something like that. It's not playing to their strengths, so that's a tactical issue and whatnot. And sure, by Friday we might have gone back to a back 4. We've gone 4-4-2. Oh, we are certainly going back to a 4-4-2. Absolutely, we are. It's the easiest way to if you've got an interim manager or someone who needs a short-term solution. Keep it simple, stupid. That's where you're going. But it's Zdrilic's right-hand men that are taking charge, so we'll see. Yeah. I mean,
it's and what is interesting, and I think where the rubber hits the road is when these conversations start to happen with players, not necessarily from ownership and the club, but the players, and whether the players believe in the philosophy, they have the confidence in the manager and the leadership and everything else like that. So this is probably where we're at. So, I mean, does this bring a bit of fresh air to some of these players that have just kind of thrown their hands up in the air previously with David Zdrillic?
Well, if it does, then they've got questions to answer as well, because I made the point previously about Nottingham Forest and Morgan Gibbs-White. Sean Dycher's in the door 3 days and he's talking about a culture shift and it feels amazing, breath of fresh air, and then they go out and get dicked at the weekend. You know, if the players are down in tools to sack the coach, I mean, they're professionals. They're meant to go out there and win the game. So I'm not accusing them of doing that. But if they turn around and beat Victory 7-0 because there's actually a brilliant team in there, like, well, why didn't you do that in the first 2 games? You know, you're there to win games and to get results for the supporters. If it turns out that Victory battered them and these results continue on, well, then yeah, it's just a bad squad and a bad team.
Yeah.
But
that's going to be the variable. The variable.
Yeah. And what say do the players get, if any, in who comes in next as well? You know, is that part of it? Leadership group. We've got 2 captains who are swapping armbands every week. I mean, do they get a say in who comes in, and is that player power, or what? Where do we go from here? There's so many questions, and I get we're reacting in the moment, and there will be more probably out tomorrow, and as we head up to the game. Guessing he won't be doing the pre-game presser. So, but even that, like, right? They can't even use their training ground now. Zdrillic aside, they're training at Sam Kerr because Mirrabuk is...
Well, they've been at Yokine.
Does that? Yokine?
Yeah.
On a public park, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, dribbling around dog shit. So like, that's where we're at. And 2 games into the season. So, it's, again, to Matt's very valid point, Zdrillic is gone, but Zdrillic is part of the problem. There are bigger, deeper problems, and we've known that for a long time. We've called them out. The season promised so much, and it's delivered absolutely nothing. And now we've got a sacking, and bombshell. Good content, though.
Any final thoughts on where we're at with the coach, boys? We can get through a few other things.
The only thing I'd say is just reiterate the point, right? Like, there's going to have to actually be a process that takes place now, right? Again, this is only 2 weeks.
Worldwide search.
Well, I'm not even from a recruitment point of view, but especially from the perspective of a new coach has ideas they want to, part onto the team. You've got a playing group that may have to adjust their playing style now, an evaluation of whether the talent is actually good enough, and you just, when you're doing that so soon into the season, you're basically just throwing away. I understand the point. There's 24 weeks to go, but you are throwing those 24 weeks away by trying to actually change things dramatically. And another point is, knowing what we know as people that follow the club inside and out, and knowing that things are so broken to the extent that they are, who does the job actually appeal to? Who actually wants to...
It's a poison chalice.
Yeah, no, it is. But that's where, if you're John Aloisi, and again, things are looking very grim for, obviously, Western United and things going on with their chairman and the Scott Pendlebury saga and whatever. So maybe there is a job there that you can take straight away, and maybe that's how things have worked out. But I would be very hard-pressed to think that someone of, John Aloisi's stature can actually come in and change things at this club, while leadership, the same people are...
And this is where I have concerns about Aloisi and ex-Socceroos, because we know that Vince Grella, Marco Bresciano, Stan Lazaridis, but whether we like it or not, there's a club, there's a bubble, right? And this is exactly the point I'm saying, is someone needs to come in from outside of that bubble.
I don't think they appeal to anyone outside it or could afford it. But I do think, I actually do wonder if their hand was forced by Aloisi, for example, that they approached Aloisi and he said, you can give it to me now, or I'm going to go talk to Melbourne Victory, because we know that there's rumours around them potentially being interested. And they called Glory's bluff, and it was a case of, well, I can get out of my contract with Western United, we can do this as a trial year to see, and if it goes to shit, Aloisi just leaves and goes back to Western United. If they come back into the competition, he gets away with it, and he just goes, well, Glory's a basket case, I gave it a go. So his reputation's intact. Glory get him in now, 2 games into the season, and potentially he lights a few fires.
Has a pre-existing
and
relationship with a lot of the players.
So my conspiracy theory is that they've done this because they needed to get Aloisi in now before someone else did.
Yeah.
Interesting times. Boys, let's have a bit of a look at what else is happening across the league.
There's nothing else happening. Nothing else matters.
No, it's not. But I thought we'd better do some due diligence elsewhere. How do we see the results over the weekend? 5-2 Newcastle over Melbourne victory. Auckland 1-0 over Wanderers. Of course, that 4-0 result for Melbourne City over Perth. Sydney FC 2-0 over Central Coast. Wellington 2-1 over Brisbane. And Macarthur 2-1 over Adelaide in front of three men in a cow.
Yeah, look, we talked about a few of these already, so I won't dwell on it too long, but I was impressed with Wellington. That's exactly the start of the season I would like Glory to have, right? You go away, really far away trip, you come from 2-0 down, you get a point, and then you show great character and resolve. And another you didn't want him goal for Carlo Armiento. He's done it against two of his previous clubs in 2 weeks. And a really nice guy from the interviews and time I spent with him when he was here before he did his ACL. Just had some rotten luck. But he's having a good time of it now. And 4 points on the board for Wellington. It's exactly what we would like Glory to be, just showing that character, resolve, nothing fancy, just keep going for 90 minutes. That's the thing with Zdrillic that we always spoke about, is his teams died in the arse in the second half. They couldn't sustain it for 90 minutes. Wellington went the opposite. They made a couple of substitutions, brought on some players and got contributions from them and got results. So I think Wellington are a good success story in 2 rounds in.
Very good. Any observations elsewhere, Jaxon?
Not to be honest, I think most of the results went the way we were kind of expecting. Good win for Auckland. They're just carrying on with their form from last year. Defensively still look as solid as ever, despite not having Alex Paulson there anymore. Sydney really needed to beat Central Coast after that horror show against Adelaide in week 1. And as much as we gave him stick last season, I did kind of like seeing Patrick Wood get on the score sheet and get some confidence back up. He's had
Neil's favourite.
He's had he's been ridiculed quite a bit
by us. Not his fault. A victim of circumstances, I have to say.
True. That be that as it may, he still wasn't very impressive in a Glory shirt. But back in Sydney, good on him for getting back on his feet and scoring. We mentioned Wellington, and then decent for Macarthur as well to get a win. Again, a team that I don't know what to expect from them, but hey, they've got their new man Ji Dong-won scoring, so it's a result that they probably needed to after that loss to Brisbane.
Yep. Matt, let's have a little bit of a look at the A-League women, mate, before we start to get too deep into wrapping things up. First of all, the Perth Glory, what's happening on the women's side of it, it's often forgotten. It's often, how does what's happening at the club affect the women's program and so on and so forth. Does this have any effect, what's going on with the club holistically on where Stephen Peters' side's at the moment?
I honestly think that basically with the budget cuts and everything that's happening across the league, I think every club is kind of having to compromise. Big part of that compromise appears to be affected at some other clubs more than Glory. If any, very valuable lessons from the past have taught us anything. I think Glory and the WA football scene as a whole is one that actually really holds up a lot of respect and a lot of time for the women's program and for women's football. So I don't necessarily think, again, going into another campaign with an experienced head like Stephen Peters, where, again, they've really been able to continue that legacy of being able to poach the best talent from the NPL in New South Wales from both a coaching and just a general personnel point of view. It's good that they've been able to bring in that stability. And again, I know a few people that I work with and talk to over East who are saying that Glory could actually make themselves a bit of a menace and a top 16 this season. I think it's maybe again one year too soon for the club to immediately get to that point of sort of contending, but I just think that when we look at, again, the stability that the team's been able to bring in, a leader like Stephen Peters and what he brings to the team as well, they should only really be able to go up. And again, I think it's a big endurance thing, right? It's a 22-game season, and they've really got to make sure they don't fold in the back end, because that was the one thing under Eparchus where the culture was still very strong.
Half the season unbeaten and then fell apart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Stephen's got to find a way to be able to really make sure the team doesn't avoid anything like that if things do continue to go right.
What's the ceiling, though? You know, stability and everything else is great, but what is the ceiling for the squad? Is it just making finals?
Yes.
Yep.
And they've gone so far as to say that should be the goal now. So there's no reason to think that being a solid mid-table club is where they should be aiming at. But I guess the issue with that and sort of the way that they would be looking at it is they know where the goal is to be sort of fifth, sixth. But whether they can actually go above that, they certainly look like a team that isn't going to get that far. So that's where if you're kind of setting the bar somewhere, but you don't really look like you have that much promise in you, how do you really sort of live to that promise and make sure everything pans out well? And that's where, again, I think when we look at the fact that we have a lot of stability within the team, the international talent, Oni Zog, who she was co-captain last year, for whatever reason stripped of that, I'm not really sure why, but if someone of that kind of mould who's had a lot of really decent time throughout, a lot of decent leagues in Europe, and the Swiss League is certainly, a good leg up on the ALW. If someone like that wants to stick around, then clearly the project is working. So I think they certainly do have the promise to be a top 16.
Is that their biggest strength? Is that stability?
Yeah, that's more or less.
The fact that they've kept that core together and they all know each other, they all get on, yada 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 yada.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And it was one thing that Izzy Dalton, when we all spoke to her and did the sort of combined presser at the breakfast, I think she was really, really heaping a lot of praise on the fact that clearly. We know where the wrongs are to be righted, and we know where we can grow as a group. So the right things are being said. My only issue is this is the Perth Glory Football Club. So optimism just isn't in our DNA right now, and that's ultimately where they might fall short. Yeah,
interesting times. Jaxon, any thoughts on the dub?
I'll be a bit more optimistic. I think I quite like the squad this season. I think the main thing will be to fix the away form. They were quite good at Sam Kerr last year, just on the road. They didn't win a game on the road at any point last season, so that will be one area to fix. I do agree that keeping the squad together is a massive thing. I remember a couple of seasons ago, they lost Morgan Aquino, Hannah Lowry, Millie Farris, so the whole spine of the team shifted in one off-season. And when you lose that many key players who are all starting players, that makes it really difficult. So to be able to keep the majority of the squad is great. There's a lot of good young talent in there, and I think the two big additions this year, I think Emma Tovar coming in is massive. She's got experience playing at the top level in Spain, and then Rola Badawia is a proven striker who will hopefully
just off a championship herself.
Yeah, lots of goals as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing Susan Fonsong come as well. I think watching her play is amazing, so I'm really hoping that she gets a good run of games in and can really show her true potential.
Yeah, I'm just going to show a bit of a shout out to the local contingent. Your Ella Lincolns, your Georgia Cassidys, Grace Johnstons. I think they can all have a good season. It's all. I think at that level, it's just all about consistency. Just
exactly.
Even if you're not getting 90 minutes, if let's just say you're getting 30 minutes, just putting in a solid shift for that entire.
That's where someone like Georgia comes in really well.
Yep.
Is that I think we've seen her growth over time to the point where she's been looked at for Matilda's camps and things like that. So for as a local product and someone that can really be that sort of figurehead as the future of the club, the future of the program, you'd really look towards someone like Georgia to be able to really put in a good shift and take the team a long way.
Beautiful stuff. We'll look forward to the girls in action Friday night against the Wanderers. We'll take our last break. We'll be back after this. You're on the Far Post Perth.
Tired of the same old cookie cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service, and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast. Big weekend to come. Plenty going on in the Australian Championship from a local perspective. Bayswater City in action against Sydney United. A very, very winnable game that could see Bayswater become one of the first teams to actually head into the final phases of the Australian Championship, so it could be an absolute historic day down there on Sunday. Get down to Frank Drago. I believe that one is a 1:30 kickoff, and for tickets for that, just check out the Bayswater City social media pages. I know they put out something there today. A-League gents, A-League men across the weekend. I'll get some tips. We'll go around the table. Friday night, Brisbane, Melbourne City, Neil Sherwin.
City in a narrow win.
Yep, 100% agree with that.
Oh, geez. It's hard to be optimistic in a side like Brisbane, who I think will be very inconsistent over the run of the season. At home, maybe a bit of optimism there, but Melbourne City are one of the premier sides of the competition. So
yeah, Melbourne City for me as well. That is a double on a Friday. The match after that, boys, Perth, Melbourne victory. Do we see something from Perth?
New manager bounce?
We see a draw.
We see a draw. Is that acceptable? Is that acceptable to the home fans now?
I think just not having to watch Zdrillic's team is acceptable.
Okay. Is that where everyone's at?
Yeah, I think so. You've only got a few days, you know.
Yeah, true.
So I think this is a free hit for whoever's in charge, unless they lose 6-0 or something.
Yeah.
You know, but I think whatever happens. Who cares? The manager's gone. We move forward with whoever comes in 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it may be.
Tip.
I've been burned too much in the past to be optimistic, so I'm going to say we lose. In a close one, though.
In a close one. All right.
I said on another program that I think Victory and Wanderers will be the bottom two after this weekend. So I've gone with a bit of optimism for Glory. And again, new manager bounce, why not?
I'm going to be really interesting because I'll be on the microphone for Sport FM, so I'm just going to see how this one plays out. But yeah, I can see a draw. I think most people will be satisfied with that, and I think most of the feeling will just be one of relief and about what the rest of the season might look like in the weeks moving forward. Boys, first game on a Saturday is Auckland Adelaide over there in Auckland. Neil,
Auckland, the most rounded team in the competition. Brilliant at the back. Yeah, I think they're at home.
Yep, I'm enjoying getting up and watching Auckland games early on a Saturday, Jackson.
12 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Start Super Saturday. Yeah, they win and they keep another clean sheet.
Yep.
Adelaide are a mess right now. Pretty easy tip.
Yep. Auckland for me as well. Newcastle, Sydney. This feels like it's a good test for Newcastle, actually, against the big boys up the road, Neil.
Draw.
Ooh.
Yep.
All right.
I think you meant down the road.
Down the road, up the road, whichever way you want to go.
Newcastle, I'm getting...
The bastards down that way, according to people from Newey.
Yeah, Newcastle, I'm getting behind the Jets.
Oh, box office.
I think you'd have to pick a draw. I think there was a lot of concern around Tallay's Sydney after round one, but I think they've been able to stabilise that a bit. So I think a draw's a safe.
Yep, I'm on the goddamn Jets. MacArthur Wanderers Saturday. Neil, last game.
I think Wanderers have had 2 difficult games to start with. They played City at home and they played Auckland away, so it doesn't get much harder than that to start with. So I think they'll bounce back and they will beat MacArthur because I think they're a better team than their results so far suggest. I think they're so good that I tipped them to win the whole fucking competition. Shit so far, so I need them to win this weekend.
That's all right. I got MacArthur and they don't look much better. Jackson?
Agree with Neil that Wanderers are definitely in a better position, but I think this ends in a draw.
I am going to tip MacArthur. I just feel that they've had a bit more going on with the Asian commitments and things like that. I just think that they are a particularly fit side at this particular moment in time, and there's no real reason beyond that. But I feel like Victory and Wanderers will come good, but I just don't see them winning this week.
Yeah, only because I've picked them to do very well throughout the league. I'm going for MacArthur. That's more of a hope than that's more of the heart than the head. Anyway, boys, finish up burning questions. What do the burning questions
skip a game?
Look like?
We did.
Did we skip a game? Oh, sorry, we got Central Coast Wellington on Sunday.
They have feelings too, yeah. I will go Wellington because I think they're going to continue.
All right.
A nice start to the year.
There you go.
Yep, Wellington as a brace or hat trick, one of the two.
No, I'll tip a draw. I feel like people are maybe a little bit flattered by how things are going with the Knicks. I still think that there's issues that they've got to eke out within their squad. It's not a particularly strong squad. There's nothing redeemable to say about the Mariners. So I get the fact that that's obviously a plus in Wellington's favour, but I'll tip a draw.
Yeah, I'm going to go a draw as well. Right, boys, burning questions. What does that look like this week?
Before I give a burning question, the Glory fan representative group have put out a statement. Apparently they were on the inside. They knew this evening that Zdrillic was getting sacked. They had a meeting tonight. We were advised that the men's coach would be departing the club. Stan, first name basis, has assured us that discussions are happening about the future replacement and listened to our concerns. The discussion was very candid and positive. They reiterated that the fan sentiment was taken on board and we encourage everyone to get behind the teams as we move forward. So it sounds like Stan's not going anywhere.
No.
So yeah, there you go.
Remember when he stepped in as physio that day in Darwin in the Cup?
Oh, I remember that.
Mate, is he going to step in and bloody coach the team himself?
Yeah. No, you never know.
Anyway, burning question, sorry.
Yeah, burning questions, boys. What does that look like this week?
Anyone want to go first? Because it's been
it's
blown
kind
up.
of, yeah,
all right, my one is it's now focus for me turns to the players. Are the players better than they've shown in the first 2 weeks, or is it just a bad team? Show us that you're a good team. Can they do that this weekend? It's a home game under lights Friday night against a struggling Victory team. You've got the coach is gone. Now it's up to you as players to respond in front of your home fans. Can you do it?
In response to that, I just want to say, who are those players? Who's actually going to be fit enough to be on the park? Because again, a lot of promise in who's been signed, but we just don't see enough of who we want to see.
Yeah.
As long as that story continues, the club is going to continue to be at the dead bottom of the league. So, if there's opportunity to see a Tom Lawrence, let's see Tom Lawrence.
If he's available and he's semi-fit, you pull him out this week.
Yes.
He's not starting though. Under any circumstances, he's not starting the game.
I wouldn't expect him to start.
No, last 20 minutes or so, cameo when you're 6-0 down.
If he can play any part, you have him on the park.
Just having a figure like that can change the way the group, the spirit in the group. And
I'd say similar to Amos as well.
Yeah, 100%.
We've seen Amos, but
concerns about Amos.
But if you're going to have those two on the park together, you do it.
Yeah, and even someone like a Cal Timmins who's like growing a lot as a player is back home in WA. I just feel that the influence of some of these guys can really change the group for the better, and so I think the onus really does become on them to really get going.
Just last thing on Amos, I always get worried when they don't tell you exactly what the injury is, and it's described as niggles in pre-season and he's had a few underlying issues and concerns. That to me sounds like he's fucked.
Yes.
Because if it's like a hamstring is 2 weeks, they tell you.
But this is a guy that even when he was at the absolute prime of his career, even when he was a Premier League player, he was notoriously very injury prone.
Yeah, okay.
And it's annoying because he's so good.
Yeah.
Like with the minutes we've seen him play, he's cut above pretty much anyone else in the park.
Yep, agreed. Jackson, burning question. 3 at the back or 4 at the back? Ooh.
Okay.
Do we see a switch up in the defensive makeup of the team?
Mike Bassett's 4-4-2.
It has to be. I mean, any time you've got an interim managerial situation, you've got to go back to basics.
Yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly. I don't have a burning question. Mine kind of blew up earlier as well. And I'll just be really interested to see what kind of reaction there is.
I guess I'll also be interested in the messaging from the club, right? Because we've just had a statement now, and it's the usual release. But do we hear from, because people have accused Pelligra of being an absentee landlord?
If you know anything,
who does the presser on Thursday? That's what I'm going to be interested.
If you guys know anything about the speech that Ross Pelligra gave at the MGP Awards last season, you know why he's not a very public-facing person.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. I feel that,
or even Jason Bontempo. We've heard nothing from him since he's been brought into his role, and now it's time for these people, if they're not leaving, step up and take accountability and steady the ship. It's your job. To quote Roy Keane, it's his job.
Yeah. Boys, just to wrap things up, final few days to get yourself some Far Post Perth merch.
The David Zdrillic range has been discontinued
due to lack of interest. But head over to the socials. Some great stuff there. A bit of an icon series, retro long sleevers. I know that you're super keen on that, Matty.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff there. And Yeah, just some designs that I thought people might be able to get around. A bit of an icon series there. So head over to the Far Post Perth socials for that. As far as the podcast, available now on Spotify, on Apple and YouTube Music. Matty Olsen, thank you very much for jumping on board with us.
Absolute pleasure. This was years in the making, so glad to finally be here.
No worries at all. Jackson, Neil, thank you, gentlemen. And we'll leave it there.
What a day.
What a day.
Bring on Friday.
Yeah, I'm going home for a cold drink, I think. Boys, take care of yourselves. We'll catch you next Tuesday for more here on the Far Post Perth podcast.